Welcome to City on a Hill Game, a tabletop RPG podcast. Alright, so Leesil, you are standing in the Hall of the Magi, which is your training area as a Magi journeyman. And today's a relatively unusual day. It's a big day. There are visitors coming from the human kingdom to the east. A representative is coming to speak to the High Magi. And right now it's just you and a couple of your fellow journeymen, Jaren and Velia. And you guys are just, your training's done for the day, and you're waiting around to kind of see what happens when the humans arrive, because there's a lot of rumors going around. The humans, want to engage the services of the Magi, which is a completely unheard of thing at this point. There are not Magi that serve in human kingdoms right now. They only serve in elven courts. And so sort of the idea has kind of come up, and there's a lot of people who aren't opposed to it. You guys are on relatively good terms with the humans. But there's a lot of people who, this is like a deep-seated tradition for them, and the idea of expanding it outside of the elven kingdoms is kind of an issue. And for note, I'll let you decide where you stand on the whole thing.
Seems to me like Leesil would probably lean on the side of optimistic, if not a little bit weary.
Okay, I can work with that. Okay, Velia looks at you as like, So Leesil, let's just say the representative comes in today and just, yeah, I want him, and she points at you. Are you willing to go? I don't know that I could leave.
I think leaving would be difficult, but that we prepare for as journeymen to go out and into the world. Although at this point it was just elven lands, the idea is the same.
I suppose
that we should go out and build better, and at the end of the day, I suppose, no matter where we go, as long as we can make it better.
Another elf walks up. I agree, Leesil. I agree deeply. I cherish this opportunity to go out and spread, our knowledge and our opportunities to teach. And Velia looks at him. Of course you do, Jaren. Of course you do. Well, you are more than welcome to take my spot should it come to it. I am not particularly interested in leaving. So you guys are just kind of standing around talking, and you notice several guards come down the stairs from the upper level of the building, and following behind the guards, you recognize the High Magi. He's like second in the area to the king. To the leader of to the elves, and there are some people, particularly in your community, who actually revere him a little more than they revere the king, just because you guys interact with him more directly. And he nods to the three of you and proceeds to sort of the chamber where you have meetings. And you also notice that at about that same time, a group of humans come in from the outside gate. And you see several that just sort of look like run-of-the-mill soldiers, and you see a woman. Lovely gown. She's clearly the one the soldiers are there to protect. And kind of off in the distance, you can hear the sort of back and forth conversation. The High Magi greets her. Ah, Kaya, welcome. Welcome to Veltalben and to the Magi training grounds. I assume the king has sent you as his representative. Welcome. Thank you, High Magi. I am very much looking forward to the opportunity to discuss the possibility of humans and the elves working together more closely and exchanging resources and ideals. I personally am very much intrigued by the concept of having a court magi. I think that would be very much a boon to my city. And she kind of looks over at the three of you and bows slightly, and they kind of head off into sort of the grand meeting hall. And this proceeding is not necessarily open to the public, but as students, were you interested, you could probably go in and at least listen to the discussion. Whether or not you would be able to heavily have any interaction is sort of debatable, but it's possible.
All right. Well, I say we at least hear what they have to say, preferably before you make up your mind entirely.
I suppose. So be it. I will follow the two of you. I don't think the High Magi would mind too much to have a few more parties in the room. So you guys can make your way in, and it's, the sort of your guys' grand meeting hall is very much like in a lot of places there would be sort of a central space and someone who you would noticeably know was in charge. People realize the High Magi is in charge, but it's very much a more rounded, even, open discussion forum. There's not... His seat might be a little nicer, but it's on an even playing field with everyone else's. This is a place of discussion and learning, and he tends to lean on the side of being able to engage with people as best he can. And as you walk in, the discussion is sort of starting. You can tell, and you've probably heard this kind of around the school the last couple of weeks. He, in particular, the High Magi, is actually very open to the idea. He is very much willing to exchange resources with the humans and go forward with these interactions. He sees no real qualm. He has no real qualms with the concept. So the two of them are sitting there, and you recognize a couple of other elven officials, a representative of the king, and you see a couple of other humans who you think are probably also part of Kaya's envoy. You know her only by name. She is an ambassador of the king, and typically travels out of the city of Keon. And they're kind of just sitting around, talking, doing their thing, and you get the general idea that this is going to happen. But that the High Magi, you actually specifically hear him at one point say, "Well, I'm totally in support of this concept. I will not force any of our journeymen or our experienced Magi, for that point, to make themselves available to this kind of cause. If they are interested in going, that is fine. We will support them. We will fund their trips. That's not a problem. But if we find a lack of representatives, that is not something I am going to forcibly change." And she seems amenable to that. No, of course, High Magi, I would not expect you to push any of your people into a position they were not interested in. That's absolutely fine. So you guys are kind of, I don't know, probably a little bit into the room. They're a good ways into the room. And from the back of the room, the doors you came through, those doors burst open, and like a firebolt flies through the door and knocks out one of her guards. Just drops the guy. And from the back
All right,
go ahead.
How close are we to the doors?
You guys are probably at least 60 or 70 feet from the door. Or actually, probably more like 40, yeah. From where they're coming in at.
All right, well, still a little too far away to do much. Jaren and Valaya also saw it, obviously.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. Then I'll nudge them, and I would probably go ahead and just ready up a firebolt when a target presents itself.
Okay, absolutely. Um, and I'll let you handle what you think the two of them would do. That's that's totally up to you.
Jaren is doing also ready a firebolt, and then Valaya is going to. So I think he is actually going to attempt to try to hide and attack at the same time. Can you? That's only a rogue thing, isn't it?
Oh, for like the bonus action to stealth, yes.
Yeah.
He would have to
Yeah.
use his
All
full
right.
action
Well,
to
in
stealth.
that case, he's going to pull out his short bow and use his full action uh, to hide his +3 to stealth.
Okay, go for it.
Like duck down and hide in the crowd. Probably get in a better position in an attempt to kind of catch him in the crossfire.
Okay, go for it.
I imagine everything's just gonna just explode into chaos at the moment.
Very possible.
All right, so Valaya is probably gonna move
Okay. All right.
right over there to get some cover behind the pillars. That I think that's enough movement. Yeah,
Yes.
and we'll just go ahead and ready some firebolts. And for Valaya is 8.
Okay, so he moves over there to hide behind the pillar, but as he passes the door, as he passes sort of that space, he can see through the door, and he recognizes the people on the other side, and it causes him to kind of it catches him off guard, and I think he stumbles a little bit, and he ends up kind of not on the side of the pillar that he intended, so he is still fairly visible. He probably is visible to some and not visible to others. Okay, so basically through the door, you see 4 elves enter, and you recognize one of them. You don't recognize the other 3 necessarily. The one you recognize is actually another one of your journeyman classmates. His name is Elvar. And you have heard him talk in the last couple of weeks. He is heavily opposed to the idea of this exchange of resources and ideas with the humans. And you see behind him three more elves. They all have short swords, and they all have a symbol on their cloak. And it's kind of it's like a 4-pointed shape, but not a traditional geometric shape, and it's bright blue, and it has a big red slash through it. And you recognize it to some extent. It's a symbol you've seen around. It's sort of a rogue group of elves that are in the kingdom. They don't do anything outright aggressively usually, but they do tend to take a different stance than most people and are very inclusive.
Interesting.
And he kind of walks in. Of course. We will not let this stand. We will not serve the humans. We will not go to their lands and teach them, or however you choose to look at it. This is unacceptable. We have come to take a stand against this. This is absolutely not our way. And we will fight for it. And he looks at the 3 of you. He ignores the High Magi because he clearly knows how the High Magi feels. He looks at the 3 of you. Brothers, this is your opportunity to make a choice.
You're right. It is. It's a shame you've squandered yours. I'm just gonna send a firebolt right at him.
Okay, go ahead and roll for it.
That's my ready to action goes off.
Go for it.
Pew!
That does hit him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Roll that damage.
All right. D10.
Okay, so you chuck that firebolt at him, and it squarely hits him, and it knocks him back a half step, and he steadies himself and looks at you. Leesil, so be it. All right, roll initiative. And as you guys are sort of interacting with each other, the guard pulls Duchess Kaya back towards the High Magi.
Even though he'd readied an action, was still a little too to do anything. The first one will be, it'll just go Leesil, Jaren, Valaya.
And actually, and this is not included with your regular actions, make me an insight check. Okay, you notice at the corner of your eye, the High Magi positions himself next to the Duchess and her guard, and you know he could probably pretty easily just end this, but he doesn't. And he really isn't even looking at the three men with swords. He barely looks at Elvar. He's really just looking at you, Jaren, and Velia, and waiting to see what you do.
So Leesil goes first?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to have to get right up in their face for this. Fantastic. All right. Well, I guess I will. So I'm going to move up to them.
Okay.
And I'm going to be saying, listen, we don't have to do this. You don't have one else. I don't know why you would try to make your point by walking in here and worse immediately with murder. That's unacceptable. I don't want to hurt you, but you do need to stand down. And then I guess point blank to him, but to hit everybody, I'm going to do color spray in an attempt to blind them.
Okay.
Foot cone for me. So I had to get like point blank to hit them all. 6d10. All right, I almost got that backwards in 10d6, which would be, I think, a lot more.
Quite possibly could be, yes.
I think that's how, because the average would be 30. Or 10d6 would be, I don't actually know. I haven't done the number. I think it would run higher.
When your firebolt,
the more dice you roll, the less random it is.
Your firebolt from earlier actually changes the math a little bit, because they now have less group hit points than they did originally.
Yeah.
Because you already hit
I did.
Okay, so that's a total of 33 hit points. That will actually get the entire group.
Blinded. Do I have enough move left, and because they're blinded, that I can at least just like 10 feet?
Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent.
All right, and now it is Jaren's turn.
Jaren is going to move up then, and he's also going to tell them that Jaren will say pretty much the same. Do this. No one was being forced to forced to leave. You didn't have to participate. You should have been here to discuss this, not with a show of force. He's going to ready an action to burning hands if one of them does something aggressive.
Okay, but he's not actually going to do... No. Okay, that's fine.
No, it'll just be he'll use his reflex to... Hopefully them being blinded will be enough to at least shake them a bit.
Right. Elvar is going to... As soon as the blindness hits him, because these all kind of happen very quickly. Of course. No, I am not done here. And he's going to launch off a firebolt, but he is going to... Let me look at blinded real quick, but I'm pretty sure he is going to at best have disadvantage.
It's just disadvantage on attack rolls.
Yes. Does 16 hit you?
I don't even have to look. Oh, yes, very much.
Okay. You take 2 fire damage. The 3 that came in with him, as the blindness hits them, 2 of them just actually straight up drop their swords and try to escape. They do so poorly because, unable to see. And the third looks like he's going to stand his ground and try and compose himself. But he considers it for a second and just sets his sword down and sits down on the ground. So you can consider the 3 of them not things you need to worry about. And now it is Velia's turn.
Velia's going to fire a shot at Elvar with a short bow.
Okay.
So that's also because I believe we're all proficient.
Yes.
This thing's set up correctly. It is. Yep, it's a +5 to hit. So
It counts
excellent.
as an elven weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, that absolutely hits.
Where's the short bow?
Uh,
D6 plus 3.
okay, that drops Elvar, and I will consider combat over. You see the High Magi step forward, and he calls a couple of guards in. They come and get the three men. And actually, before they leave, you see him basically dispel their blindness. So the High Magi steps forward, and he waves his hand and seemingly unblinds the three men. And then you see him wave his hand again, and so they're all wearing leather armor, and they have that emblem kind of attached to their armor, but not actually. Like, you see him wave his hand, and you assume it's mage hand, and it rips the emblems off of all three of their cloaks. He looks at the three of them. Leave. Go home. And just try and think about it. Reconsider what you're doing. See where it has gotten you. And he kind of nods, and his guards kind of push them out of the room. And he turns to the Duchess. My sincerest apologies. I knew some in our ranks did not agree with this exchange, though I did not realize anyone felt this strongly. You have my sincerest apologies, Kaya.
Jaren would probably move over and try to stabilize.
Okay, yeah,
just
absolutely.
Like the thing he would do. And just, they put him down. Let that be the end of it.
He turns to the three of you. Thalia, Leesil, Jaren. As I'm sure you're noticed, I let the three of you handle this. As you know, the journeyman, when he comes to the end of his training, faces a trial. Congratulations. I will consider yours passed. Though this is far from how we traditionally handle that, I think the three of you have proven yourselves wisely. And though you may have varying opinions about this cause, you defended someone who could not defend themselves, and of that I see you in high regard. Excellent work. Kaya comes forward and she bows to the three of you. Thank you. My men and I are grateful. I do not know what we would have done if you had not been here. Those men were quite... I'm sorry it turned out this way. She looks at you. You speak wisely, for one I assume as to be young for an elf. Would you be interested in a position in the human kingdoms?
I do believe I would, especially if people around feel this strongly. Perhaps we can show them that there's some good to be had.
I like that. We will have several openings soon. I am going to be taking control of the town of my father. In his age, he has passed it to me. If you were interested, I would gladly have you as my court magi. And I can find... I'm sure there are several cities who would be interested in the services of either of the other two of you. Jaren bows. Thank you, my lady. I look forward to it. Velia takes a step to the side. I appreciate that, Kaya, but I feel my place is here. Thank you, though. And he actually he nods to the two of you and just kind of steps out of the conversation. The High Magi nods to the three of you. Excellent work today, gentlemen. You have proven your training well. That is the story of how Leesil ended up in Oriel as the court magi of Duchess Kaya. Thank you for joining me for this, Daniel.
It was fun.
We appreciate you guys listening. Have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us. For more episodes, check out cityonthehillgaming.com, iTunes, or other awesome podcast outlets. To contact us, email us at cityonthehillgaming@gmail.com or find us on Twitter @cityonthehillgame. Thanks, and have a blessed day.